some questions now and then come on to Councillor Claire Holland later, but I'm looking at the time. I want to give Claire a chance to speak and say what she needs to say. So I'm going to bring Claire in now, and then we'll take questions for everybody, for all three of them, before we finish. I see you've been using the chat to ask questions. That's great. Keep doing that. And Alice, I can see, is responding in the chat as well. That's saving us a bit of time. So do take a look in the chat if you've not already, and you'll see how some of the responses, some of the questions are being answered. But I'll try and give you a chance to ask them yourselves verbally as well. So now our third speaker is Councillor Claire Holland. She's now the leader-elect for the council as well. So we're very pleased she's here with us this evening. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you very much, Rob. Just checking you can hear me, all right? Yeah, okay, cool, great. Thank you. And it's great to be here. And thank you so much for those really informative talks from Alice and Neil. There was so much information there. I really look forward to reflecting on it and learning some more. And I just want to say, on behalf of Lambeth Council and all the organisations that are involved in arranging this Citizen Assembly, thank you, all of you, for agreeing to be part of it. And it's Lambeth's first ever Citizens Assembly, and it's really great to see such commitment from everybody, and thank you for giving up your time. You're playing a crucial role in the future of our borough. As Rob said, I'm the leader of Elected Lambeth. I've been deputy leader for the last few years, and I have held the portfolio of sustainable transport, environment and clean air. Now, in January 2019, we were the first council in London to declare a climate emergency. And we did that because we know that the time left for action is rapidly shrinking. Now, for us at Lambeth, this isn't just about tackling the climate crisis to save the planet and reduce our risk of flooding and extreme heat events that have been referred to, because we know that we're an unequal society, we're an unequal London and an unequal borough. And just as we saw with COVID disproportionately hitting our poorer communities, our Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities and residents with underlying health conditions, as Neil said, so with climate change, it won't hit everyone equally. Some of us will feel the impacts more than others. Now, what have we been doing as a council? So over the last years, we've been working with our own council plan to reduce our own council carbon footprint. Now, we've set the target, we need to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2030. That's a huge challenge. But as a council, we're only 5% of the borough's emissions. And of that 5%, a whopping a huge part of our council carbon footprint, 98%, comes from the buildings that we own as a council, including 30,000 council homes. So over the next 10 years, we needed to radically improve the energy efficiency of those homes, our schools, our libraries and our office buildings. Now this will cost a huge amount of money, which we don't currently have, more on that later. But we also need to build more homes, as many as possible, because we have around 30,000 people on our housing waiting list, including 5,000 children living in temporary accommodation. I'm not sure if anyone here tonight is living in temporary accommodation in Lambeth, but I represent many people that do, and it's really can be quite detrimental to the whole family's well-being, not being in a permanent home and being placed away from your community and networks. But we simply don't currently have enough housing stock across London. So we need to increase the supply of housing, but build to the highest energy efficiency standards, so that we then don't have to go back and retrofit them in a few years' time. We also, as a council, look at transport that we use to run our services, so moving to electric, to make it electric vehicles, or enabling more of our staff to get around by walking and cycling, and more broadly making it easier and safer for residents to walk and cycle, and develop a clean and accessible transport system with TfL and the government. And we need to look at how we do business with others, using our purchasing power as a council to encourage the companies that we buy from to play their part and commit to reducing their emissions. Now, it's a huge amount of work, as I said, and a lot of investment, particularly after over a decade of austerity, where we've had a 56% cut to our budget, with local government being the hardest hit public service over the last 11 years. But we are absolutely committed to playing our part, and we'll continue to argue and lobby central government to take it seriously and put the investment in, because it's not just about having laws and ambitions, it's about actually providing the funding and the infrastructure for us to do it. But it's not just about the council's carbon footprint, which, remember, I said was only around 5% of the whole boroughs. And ultimately, as councillors, we're elected to help protect the future of our borough and all the residents who live here. And this means us looking at what we can do with you, the residents, with our businesses, with our community and faith groups, our universities and colleges, our hospitals, and all the other organisations to respond to the climate emergency. So moving to the borough. So as has been referred to, climate change can sometimes seem like something that's a long way off or doesn't affect us here in Lambeth. So whether it's warming in the South Pacific Ocean or the damaging of the Great Barrier Reef, it can feel remote. So why does climate change matter here in Lambeth? Well, as Neil referred to in his presentation, it matters because it does affect our health, our jobs, our homes, and it's already affecting our borough. And crucially, as is often the case, as I said, it will disproportionately impact people in our borough that are already most at risk. So our summers are going to get hotter, and in cities where everything is close together, forgive me, the scientists in the room, I'm speaking as a layperson here, but where everything is close together in cities, heat is trapped and absorbed into surfaces, making it hotter than in surrounding towns and countryside. And that makes people unwell, and it can even be deadly, particularly for the very old or young, and those who are not able to get out to cooler places or afford to cool their homes. And changing weather patterns means more and heavier rainfall, putting pressure on our Victorian sewer system here in Lambeth. And when that can't cope, causing flooding, there are 3,000 homes in Lambeth are at risk of flooding, and that number is set to rise. And as temperatures rise, air quality declines. And we already know that air quality has serious impacts on all of our health. It kills over 9,000 Londoners a year prematurely, and it particularly hits children and those who already have health conditions worse. More poor air quality days means more people unwell and more pressure on our health services. So when you think about the scale of the challenge ahead and the risk that climate change poses to us as a borough and our way of life, it can feel really daunting. And it does mean taking a hard look at the things that weren't working in Lambeth before the pandemic and tackling those things that have been worsened by COVID, such as rising unemployment, especially for young people, increasing child poverty, and health inequalities, particularly in relation to race and ethnicity, have been exposed by the pandemic and will take time to address. But for us at Lambeth Council, we think there's another way of looking at this. If we take action now, together, all of us, we have an exciting and unique opportunity, not just to tackle the climate crisis, but to make Lambeth a better and fairer place to live in for all of us. Now, this last year has been tough. COVID has had a huge impact on our communities here in Lambeth. Our health, our communities and our economy need time and support to recover. Our response can help our borough to recover, but not to go back to how things were, but to build better quality homes, cheaper, safer and healthier ways to travel, more green spaces, more high quality, low carbon businesses, and crucially for Lambeth, that means more quality jobs for our residents. So we're clear as a council, we have existing inequalities that we need to take account of when we're thinking about our response to the climate crisis, and we need to make sure it's fair, because climate change will not affect us all equally unless we are careful. It has the potential to widen those inequalities. So those who are least able to adapt, those with long-term health conditions, those on lower incomes or those in insecure poor housing, for example, will be more exposed to it. But for us, our future is at stake. And as I said, this isn't just about the council, it's about everyone in Lambeth playing their role, because we believe strongly we can only reach solutions together. The evidence is there telling us that. This needs to be a plan that we build together and that we deliver together. We have to act quickly because climate change is happening now, and the choices we make about how to do that will involve trade-offs. So by making it easier to walk and cycle and use public transport, sorry, my light's gone off. This is our new town hall where we had a more energy efficient system. So making it easier to walk and cycle and use public transport could make journeys less convenient for motorists, for example. That's a trade-off. Installing low carbon heat networks could save huge amounts of carbon, but will cause significant disruption. And does meeting the highest sustainable standards for new homes mean building fewer of them, especially without the funding from central government? And do we leave those thousands of children without a permanent, warm, safe home and temporary accommodation? These are the trade-offs we need to look at. So we need you, our assembly members, to help us work through these trade-offs, to come up with a climate plan for the whole borough of Lambeth, with recommendations for everyone. We need a set of recommendations that residents know were developed by people like them, who when presented with the evidence came up with a set of solutions that you thought were best for our borough. So I'd like finally to finish by formally inviting you to represent your recommendations, whatever they are when they come out, to a meeting of the full council in the autumn. And my commitment to you is that the council and all our partners that we're working with on this will take your recommendations and turn them into the borough's first ever climate action plan. And my hope is that you'll be able to see your recommendations turn into concrete changes in your neighbourhoods and know that you have played a crucial part in building a better future for our borough and a fairer future for our borough. So I really want to thank you again for being here and for giving up your time. I'm so excited to see you all on screen, and I wish we could be in person, and I'm sorry we can't. And I really look forward to this first ever Lambeth Citizens Assembly. So I think I'll leave it there, Rob.
Thanks a lot, Claire. That's great.